right, this is SFBarkast. I am Jeff Cleary.
I am Andrew Louder.
And Andrew, where are we today?
We are at the BlindCat
The
on
Blind
24th and Treat.
Treat, yes. Right. BlindCat.
The BlindCat. Formerly, for people that have lived here more than a few years, this used to be Treat Street Cocktails.
Treat Street Cocktails.
And then, was it called Dirty Thieves? Or
Dirty
like
Thieves, right.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Thieves Tavern, which is now what the old Hush Hush was on 14th
Street.
Street.
Complicated now.
I know. Maybe we should move out. Like, this is like, we've been here for too long.
To, have a pen and paper ready, because there would be fun equations to follow, like where you can figure out what a bar used to be called.
And when I say, like, not to be confused with Thieves Tavern,
right,
like Dirty Thieves, because that's happened to me. I've confused it before,
right,
where people have, like, called me and said, hey, meet me at Dirty Thieves. And I go to Thieves Tavern. I'm like, where the fuck are my friends? Those guys are assholes. And they're like, yeah, that guy doesn't know how to follow directions.
See, I think that's the fault of whoever named the second of those bars. You have to know that, like, the word thieves is not common vernacular these days, and so naming your business something that's like odd, like is going to get you confused with the other odd thing.
I mean, we see this all the time in stand-up comedy, where it's like two people write the same joke, and then someone thinks, "Oh, you stole that from me," but it's no, like two people can be inspired by something and come up with the same joke. See, but like it's weird when like one guy's like, "Oh, I was going to call my bar Thieves,"
right?
It's like, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to do that.
Well, it's like if there was a new comic on the scene called like Carrot Head.
Who?
Carrot Head. And people were like, no, it's just like Carrot Top. He's like, no, I was always Carrot Head.
I've always wanted to be Blueberry Head.
It's not my fault that people come to my shows expecting to see Carrot Top, like, because I'm Carrot Head.
This neighborhood down here is like, it's one of there's no neighborhood in San Francisco that has been immune from gentrification. Yeah. But I feel like down here on 24th Street, like they've put up a better fight than other neighborhoods.
Yeah, I mean, like certainly like food-wise, it's totally like the hipster apocalypse or whatever. If that's such an outdated term now, because hipsters.
Hipster apocalypse?
Yeah, because hipsters got forced out by like tech bros, right?
Yeah,
so,
there are no hipsters left.
Yeah,
I mean, like we've talked about this before. Like a friend of mine said he was like, he lives in LA now, and he was up here and he was looking around. And he's like, wow, this is the new Mission. He's like, you know what I miss? I miss the ironic T-shirts.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, like the personality of the city, especially the Mission. It's like, have you ever had like a friend who, like, as they get older, like loses their sense of humor? That's like the Mission right now. It's like, it used to be really funny. It used to be like guys running around with like, Phil Collins ironic T-shirt, like concert shirts on.
Boy Scout outfits.
Yeah. And like now it's just like you don't see any of that shit.
Right.
It's all like a bunch of like tech bros going to play flip cup in someone's backyard.
How sad. Well, speaking of sadness. And,
go ahead. But what I wanted to say is like the neighborhood around here. It's, I feel like they've like held up. I mean, they definitely have some, like the. There's always going to be this like sad situation where it's like they kick out some Mexican bakery, so some like tech like millionaire can make his chicken pot artisanal chicken pot pies.
Right. Well, yeah. Like I was going to say before, like this bar actually exists sort of right between like two of the big giant sort of like players in like the San Francisco food scene, where it's like you've got Humphrey Slocum Ice Cream on one side and the Wise Sons Deli on the other, like, where it's like you have lines outside of both at most hours of the day. Like,
do you remember in the last episode when we were going over all the Golden Globe nominees and everything I said, you just sat there and said, didn't see it, don't know what that is. Now I kind of feel like that because like you're talking about all these like, oh, this is like the twin.
Like, I've never been to Wise Sons Deli. I mean, like it seems like their big hook is that like, hey, we're like a New York deli. It's like, well, okay, great. Like,
I mean, so more about like more about the foodie situation.
Right.
But like, I don't think anybody can really explain it to me. Like on Mission, they will promote. I think at Dear Moms, they will have New York bagels flown in from like Queens,
right,
and they'll rush them. Like I think they have like a police escort from SFO to Dear Moms,
right.
And then people are lined up to get these fucking bagels.
Right.
And I'm just, and like people are like, oh yeah, it's the water that's better. It's like, what the fucking?
Well,
what do you mean?
Then
like,
ship over the water.
The goddamn, like the
you
water.
You can put it on a tanker truck and like make all you want.
Dude, the water in the East River? Are you fucking me? it's like, oh yeah, like you don't get as many like used condoms in your bagel out in California.
Extra syringe on mine.
So I don't know, like people really get into it. They, I feel like all the enthusiasm that like aging, like middle-aged people had for like going to like music shows or partying or doing drugs, like all that's gone. Like now they're like, I'm into food.
Right. Which like that's great if like you and your 45-year-old wife are hanging out and want to do something fun, outside of Walnut Creek or whatever. But like, the idea of like a city social scene being based on it is kind of screwy.
Yeah.
Like especially given how expensive it is and everything. Like and so it's like you're willing to like not only like spend a lot more money, but like all of your time waiting in line, like because like this donut is better. It's like it is really kind of fucked up when you think about it.
Is this or is this not the best bear claw you've ever put in your mouth? I don't know.
There's cronuts, and then there's cronuts on top of bacon on top of donuts.
One of the things I love about BlindCat is, and I've been obsessed with this like recently, is they have really cool bar T-shirts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I've been obsessed with like getting cool bar T-shirts. In fact, I'll go to a bar and ask them if they have T-shirts, and they'll say no. I'm like, well, you better up your T-shirt game.
Then cancel that beer order.
Right.
I am out of here.
Well, it's like we were talking about the hipster, the former hipsters, the now extinct San Francisco hipster, walking around with their like Richard Marx like ironic T-shirt. If there's any justice in the fashion world, the next like phase of fashion craze where everyone will go to the thrift stores and like scoop them all up are bar T-shirts, especially for bars that are gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the first place my mind goes is thinking like it should be much cooler if you're wearing a bar T-shirt from the Attic or
if we walked in here with like bar T-shirts for Treat Street cocktails.
Right, exactly. Like I would expect to be served for free for all night.
And also, like if it's a place that has a lot of character, like there was a place right around the corner from me when I first moved into the Mission called Mop Tops.
Oh wow, I remember that. Yeah.
And it was a fish and chips restaurant, and it had like the Union Jack flag.
Yeah, sort of like had like an old school like Liverpool look about it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all like fish and chips, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was owned by this like Korean dude who was a junkie.
Right.
And in the back, his like Beatles cover band would play, and like he was always like just this far away from like nodding off on heroin on stage, and so like all their songs would be. It's kind of like it's like if you gave Lou Reed a bunch of heroin and then put him on stage to sing Beatles songs.
Right.
It's like Korean dude with a Mop Tops up there. He's like, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. And
it's like like the early Beatles is like the perfect library for that because like none of their songs are over 2 minutes, so it's like so he can like once you start it, you can probably finish it no matter what your state is.
Now,
like,
if
it's
I
not
had
like Inagata-Davida or something where you got to like commit.
Now, if I had bought a T-shirt from Mop Tops and was walking around with that, and somebody recognized it, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I went to Mop Tops once." Then you could have a story to tell.
Exactly.
Otherwise, now everybody's like, nobody's going to walk over to some tech bro and be like, "Ooh, tell me about that T-shirt that you got at your like tech company's like summer picnic."
Right, or like a Dr. Bombay's T-shirt or something like that. I mean, because then you're even predating Comma, and like the bed-themed restaurant or bed-themed bar.
So Andrew, what are you doing for New Year? It is New Year's Eve day. What are you doing for New Year's Eve?
I'm doing virtually nothing but seeing it out the door because it sucked.
You stole my idea.
Yeah.
Because I was going to do the exact same thing.
You can also do nothing.
I was going to stare out the window.
Oh, yeah. Well, I might stare out the window. I might occasionally check in on television, maybe watch an old episode of True Detective or something. I'm in the middle of that, so.
But you know what? Like, I think you and I are both in the same camp where we're like, you know what? 2014 might very well. It's arguably the worst year since like people were flying planes into buildings.
Right. I remember. Yeah, I was gonna say 2000 kind of sucked because of Bush being elected. And then 2004 kind of sucked because he got elected again, and then 2001 sucked for the obvious reasons. But 2014 for
2001 was the year I was saying about the planes going into the buildings.
Oh, okay.
Not that old black and white film of a plane going into a barn.
Right, biplane into a barn,
which I believe Al Qaeda used as a training video.
Exactly. Just settle down and watch this, guys. Just take notes.
I want to show you this short 7-minute film, and then we'll reflect on what maybe we can do.
What kind of lessons did you take from this Buster Keaton movie?
Wait a minute, you put the wrong film in the projector. Now everybody wants to have a monkey wash a cat.
If only 9/11 had just involved that.
It would have been much more fun, I'll say that much.
I will say that if you get washing soap into the eyes of a cat, it may go blind. And then you'd have blind cat.
Blind cat, exactly. So we are going to put a very we're gonna put a huge bow on 2014 and just send it out the door.
Indeed.
Give it the send off.
What were some of your low lights before we have our super year-end spectacular coming up, but in the meantime, we wanted to reflect a little bit on this year first before we say good things about it.
Yes, exactly. Well, I wanted to first say that in my personal life, only a couple of things went really bad.
Right.
And so I'm not devastated by this year. Right. But if you're somebody like me and you like to keep up with current events, my God, this could have been the worst year ever. Every time I turn on the television, there's just there's a Malaysian airliner that disappeared. Oh, no, there's another Malaysian airliner that got shot down by the Ukraine.
Right.
By the way, Malaysian airliner, but bad year for them.
Well, and now Asia Airlines after that, they had 2 back-to-back as well, didn't they?
Jesus. And so then you have the Ukrainian crisis where Putin is saying he didn't send troops in there, and all the Russian troops are there.
Right.
And then you have let's not forget about ISIS,
ISIS must feel so bummed out. They're God, the one year we decided to amp it up and become the biggest terrorist threat in the world. All this other shit happens, and everyone's ISIS, who's that?
ISIS is watching CNN, and they're covering all the, the Ferguson protests and all the race riots, and ISIS is Jesus.
What do we have to do over here?
Whose dick you got to suck to get on CNN these days? We cut people's heads off. And yeah, they're cutting people's heads off, and then you have the whole Syria conflict.
Right. Well, even if you just pay attention to Hollywood news, Robin Williams dies.
Oh yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman dies.
Robin Williams, one of the most beloved, famous actors in the world, decides he's gonna check out.
Right. Joan Rivers, Harold Ramis, all these.
Joan Rivers was old.
She was old, but you know what? Still totally working and everything like that. Not someone where I think some people die and it's very much oh, I kind of thought he was dead already.
Joe Cocker.
Exactly. Joe Cocker's a perfect example. People that worked with thought that was really, really tragic, and I was you know what? He, by all rights, he should have died 30 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
If I've been taught anything by anything, it's that the guy, John Belushi made fun of Joe Cocker, and then Joe Cocker outlives him by 30 years.
There was it's a weird protocol you go through when you hear that someone died. I just go immediately oh that sucks. And then if it's Lauren Bacall, who's over 9, she was 91 when she died this year. I was it's fine.
Yeah, she had a good run.
Yeah, I think even she was yeah, it's time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, let's not forget. Okay, so yeah, and then you read Robin Williams killed himself.
Right.
So then of course we have the Michael Brown killing.
Wait, who's that? No, I'm just kidding.
Is he a power forward? And then you have like the chokehold death in
Right.
Staten Island, and
Eric
you have the
Garner.
Cleveland, like the cops that shot that kid in Cleveland who was playing with a toy gun.
Right.
It was a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah. To be fair, though, by the looks of the video, like they at least paused 1.5 seconds before like
Yeah, exactly.
mowing him down.
They sent a guy who they had just hired from a different like police force, who got fired from there because they said he had irreparable emotional problems. And the Cleveland police force was like, "We'll take him."
Sign him up.
So then you have all three of those shootings. Then you
Right.
have the subsequent riots.
Right.
And then you have the protests. And then you have all the people like the backlash against the protests.
Right.
You know, and then I was gonna put like the California drought on there, but I kind of feel weird being like
Right.
after like people are getting their heads cut off and people are having race riots, and I'm
We're
like, yeah, but I had to
thirsty.
I had to cut my shower short.
I only wash my car once a week. Thanks a lot, Obama.
Exactly. No more masturbating in the shower.
I was going to say that's only going to affect one person we know, and that's Todd Volpe. But there's no way he listens to this.
You know what though? You know what I say though? Like the whoever played Urgent is like my new hero. In a very weird way, I've been watching a lot of movies like recently, and
Right.
in a very weird way, even though I feel like this year has been just a fucking big pile of dog shit, I feel like
Agreed.
there was a lot of good music that came out this year, a lot of good movies
Yeah.
that came out this year.
Yeah.
Can't really complain too much about the sports. You
Yeah.
know, like the Giants won the World Series.
Right.
LeBron James goes back home to Cleveland. That was a great big story. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl.
They did. I can't complain about that.
And television's been, consistently good, you
Right.
know.
I will say that the movie Chef came out, and I thought that sucked. So
Is that what's going to, like, ruin your year?
You know, it was just bad enough to where I think it might. No, there were a few decent movies I felt like I saw this year, like Grand Budapest Hotel, Guardians of the Galaxy, Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, are we gonna do this?
Oh, we don't have to.
No. Is it go time, Andrew, to talk about movies?
Jesus, I've never seen you react so quickly to anything.
Bird. Here's my list of. Also, here's my my list of movies that I assume are going to get nominated for Best Picture: Birdman, Boyhood, Imitation Game, Theory of Everything, Selma, Grand Budapest Hotel, Gone Girl, Foxcatcher, and then my maybes are Interstellar, American Sniper, and Wild. By the way, I saw Wild.
Yeah.
Over like the Christmas break.
Reese Witherspoon.
Really,
hiking.
like probably my favorite movie I saw. Like,
Really?
and I saw The Imitation Game. I saw Gone Girl.
Wow.
Wild.
I saw Interstellar last weekend.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
and I find it like it's like equal parts frustrating and rewarding to watch any Christopher Nolan film. I
You
feel
know,
like
it's
Yeah.
almost 3 hours, and it doesn't feel like
Oh
3
God, no.
hours.
Yeah, I
No.
really I didn't feel that way at all. Like so.
Yeah.
And that was like probably one of the main things that was keeping me from seeing it was like fucking 3 hours. Like, and it's the same with Boyhood too. Like I'm sure it'll be enjoyable, but
You know, Boyhood might have the inside track. I think Birdman's going to win Best Picture.
Really?
But I saw Gone Girl, and I know I don't think you liked it, but like I thought it was great.
you know what? I thought it was well made and it was well done, but like I don't know. I had a sort of problem with the overall story, which isn't anybody's fault except the original writer. But
the whole thing is it's a Hitchcock movie.
yeah,
It's basically Fincher doing his Hitchcock movie.
right.
You know,
There
and
didn't seem to be enough of a. I mean, without giving anything away, I didn't. The payoff just didn't pass like a bullshit test for me. Like,
yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, there were a couple things I didn't like about it. But overall, in all, like I was like, pretty into it. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, it kept me interested, which is like more than I can say for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
oh
which
my
was
God.
awful.
Someone
So boring.
I saw someone pick Dawn of the Planet of the Apes as one of the top 10 movies of the year.
What?
And
Go
it was
fuck
someone
yourself.
online, and I actually wrote him and I said, dude, I don't know how someone of sound mind could
Right.
write on the internet that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was one of the best movies of the year.
There's a lot of bullshit on the internet, but
I was like-
I can't believe that this bullshit even made it. Like,
I was like, they're registered sex offenders that have less to live down in their life. I was like, you're never going to outrun that.
All right. We should take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll talk more about the year and some of our favorite places that we went.
Year-end spectacular.
All right,
2014 edition.
Yeah, goodbye 2014. We're gonna pull the plug on this this year.
Right.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are at BlindCat. All right, and we are back at the BlindCat.
The BlindCat.
Do you think Stevie Wonder would like this bar?
Believe me, I have lots to say about Stevie Wonder, because I actually heard and we'll address this on another show.
Me? But did I open a can of worms?
You did. You totally did, because I had this marked down as something to talk about at some point. But I was made aware of the fact that there are what are called Stevie Wonder truthers out there that do not believe that he is blind.
Oh my God!
And they have like all kinds of crazy evidence to prove it.
You know what? If you
for what reason though? Like the thing makes so little sense. It's like not even like.
I'm sure like
it's barely funny.
I mean, it's like, why are people burning calories on the internet to like coming up with these theories? It's like when you see him singing "My Cherie Amour," it looks like he's like swinging his head back and forth, but really he's checking around for truthers.
That's right. And all to cash in on that big market of being blind, that he couldn't have gotten otherwise, because his songwriting talent was subpar. But everyone said, well, he's blind. Give him a break.
Here's the thing I'll say about that is that, like, okay, if we met whoever the main guy is in the Stevie Wonder truther organization,
he might be an athlete, I think.
What?
It might be an athlete, I think. That's like one of the like main. I can't remember who it is. I'll have to like I say, I'm still unprepared on my research, but all I know at this point is that it exists. If
it's like some 29-year-old dude who lives in New York and writes for like the Onion, and he's like wearing his ironic T-shirts,
right.
And then I'd be like, oh yeah, that guy's great, like Stevie Wonder truther. But if he's a guy who like really
turns out to be Shannon Sharp or something.
Yeah, but if it's really someone who's just like, oh yeah, everyone else is living a lie,
right?
And I'm the only one who knows the truth here. Although you know what that does set up. If anyone's seen the YouTube video of there's like this moon landing truther guy who like steps to Buzz Aldrin, and Buzz Aldrin, who is like 85, clocks this dude and almost like lays the dude out, and like so we're setting up like Stevie Wonder to like go like throw a haymaker at some dude.
Like a perfectly placed one too. Like the guy will duck and he'll adjust to it and like punch. You give him an uppercut.
Yeah, and then the guy will go back to the internet and be like, "How did he know I was attacking from the right if he can't see?"
Like, how did he duck my fist? It's like,
all right. So BlindCat intermission. One of the things
which is authentically blind. Like
all right.
We're gonna stop.
Let's
this,
not start that shit again.
We're gonna like stop this in its tracks. We have proof that it's blind.
This podcast is for truth. This podcast isn't for your bullshit. One of the things I love about this bar is they have a pinball machine, of course, so that's always like scores points in my book. They have a really good jukebox.
Yeah.
It's not an internet jukebox. It's like electronic jukebox. So you have a shit ton of like songs you can pick from.
True.
And they have a pool table in the back.
Right.
And
in a pretty small space overall.
Yeah, pretty small space. I mean, it's like one big room.
Yeah.
But they have nice, comfortable like booths where we're sitting in because we're royalty, and then like a full bar. Oh, I forgot about the booze.
Oh my! I nearly forgot about the booze. I see they have a PBR and bullet special for $7.
Ooh, that actually sounds pretty good.
That does sound pretty good, and many beers on tap. Several IPAs, so they're not confined to the Lagunitas of the IPA world. They're willing to carry something decent like Dogfish Head.
Yeah. Oh, they have Dogfish Head too, and also on the little mantle over there, they have the Gopher from Caddyshack.
I didn't see that. Right below the aforementioned bar T-shirts.
Yeah. So at least like I've been saying before, like San Francisco feels like a city San Francisco, as I say, especially the Mission, feels like a friend of yours who lost his sense of humor. Suddenly, like he used to be really funny, and now he's not. Like I feel like the Blind Cat is still keeping it real as far as like the humor goes.
Exactly. You won't find a Caddyshack gopher in the apartments or workspace of many tech bros. So screw them.
They'll be like, Caddyshack? What's that?
Exactly. They'd be like, oh, my dad liked that movie.
Is that a Adam Sandler film? Actually, I think Adam Sandler may be too old. I mean, is that a Zac Efron film?
It's an Ashton Kutcher vehicle.
All right, so it's the end of 2014, and we're gonna like package this bullshit year and just send it away, right?
Exactly.
Do you have any optimism for the year 2015?
I have a ton of optimism for 2015, but it's the.
But is it only optimism because you can only go up from here?
Exactly. Like,
okay.
And that's, there couldn't be a better way to describe it because every bit of my optimism is like, well, surely that's all of the punishment I need right now. So.
Although, you know what, Andrew, I am right there with you, except if 2015 continues to eat like a plate of dicks like 2014 did, I might get really depressed.
Well, it's already the 2015 in New Zealand and Australia, so maybe we can call them.
2015,
yeah. So we can call them and ask them how it is, and if it still feels the same, we can just off ourselves before it comes.
Let's call Auckland right now and be like, "What's it like?" And they'll be like,
"Tell me it's better."
Oh my God, we just had an earthquake and everything's like everything's falling to the ground. Shit.
Some guy raped an entire school of 500 kids and killed them all in 5 minutes. Like what?
But one of the. So let's go right into our. You want to do our best of the year, categories for the Barcast, because that's what people are here for.
Of course.
Or do you want to tease it and come back and take a break?
You know what? Like they've put up with enough bullshit so far, waiting for us to get to this. So
all right,
why
we'll
not
do
give the people what they want?
We'll do a few. We like to give the people what they want.
Indeed, we're like Jalen Rose in that way. Like
Jalen Rose.
He likes to sing, give the people what they want.
Jesus Christ, Andrew. Can we have one podcast where you don't bring up Jalen Rose?
I apologize.
All right. So here are the categories.
Indeed.
Good night, everyone. No. Best locals bar.
Best locals bar. All right. Well, who do you want to go first? I'll let you drive this bus.
I'll tell you what. I'll say the category, then you go first, and then you say the category, and I go first.
Okay.
This is SFBarkast, the world's greatest rehearsal.
Exactly. And can I ask the director, do you want to mention like two, like a runner-up and a winner, or do you want to just do winners?
I just want you to give your answer, because my answer could include many.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well, I'm going to say my best locals bar that we did in the past year was the 3300 Club.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't have that on my list, I think, because I'm just an idiot.
All right, and if I had to pick a runner-up, I really enjoyed the Geary Club with Dave Gabori and
Andre Parker. Okay, so my list of nominees for the best locals bar are Pittsburgh's, the Dog Patch Saloon,
Indeed.
Blooms, and the Geary Club. And I think I'm going to go with the Geary Club. Although actually the 3300 Club has to be in there because it's such a staple in the Mission.
I think I had Route 101 in the running as well. I had Route 101 in the running as well.
I wouldn't put that in there.
No, it seems like a locals bar to me.
You're stupid. No, actually, I was looking at Dog Patch Saloon, Blooms, Pittsburgh's. Those are three bars that I hardly ever go to.
Yeah.
And they do kind of feel like. No,
hey,
those
what
are
are you doing here?
Those are not destinations. Those are places for people in the neighborhood. And Geary Club, I think it was such a great bar because it's so small and you can only fit 14 people in there. So it's but it's always packed. So it's they're all locals down there. So I'm gonna go. My best locals bar will be the Geary Club.
Geary Club. Good choice. Good choice. All right. Next category. I'm going to plow right through these.
Mr. Plow. Let's go.
This is the part of the Academy Awards where you're like, best costume design? Fucking who cares?
Maybe we should do something like the Academy Awards. Okay, here we go. Merriam-Webster's define out-of-towners bar as a place that out-of-towners go. What do you think about that, Elle McPherson?
Laughs to herself.
All right, so I guess I let the cat out of the bag. The next category is best out-of-towners bar.
Best out-of-towners.
It's kind of a hard one. Like
it is a little bit hard because I mean, like, the instinct is to go straight to like tourist trap or like or something like that. I went with my runner-up was the Lipo Lounge. I figure, like, you know what, out-of-towners, they love Chinatown. They like, and that's a great, like, sort of respite if you're dragging your family through Chinatown and, like, shopping for cheap crap or whatever. Like,
like maybe you want to buy a realistic-looking gun for your child to play with.
Exactly. You know, run around Cleveland having lots of fun. And my winner is actually Doc's Lab.
Doc's Lab.
Because, you know, like, you come into San Francisco, see a comedy show. See the world-famous Purple Onion.
Now I feel bad that I didn't put that on my list.
Well,
actually,
this list only exists to make you feel inadequate.
Don't worry, we'll cut that out. So my list was, of course, Doc's Lab. How could I leave that off the list?
Of course.
But Lipo Lounge was my number 2.
Okay.
And my best out-of-towners bar, it was a bar that I found, like, very surprisingly fun to go to, and that is the Armory Club.
Armory Club, wow.
I mean, I think, like,
it's sort of a very hip touristy recommendation would be, like, to go to the Armory Club.
Well, here's the thing, like, I don't think you shouldn't be bringing, like, your children to the Armory Club. Unless
you probably shouldn't bring your children to any bar, really.
I mean, who knows, like, maybe your kid, maybe you want to have that talk with your children, like sit down and explain like what bondage films are to them. You know, like the Armory Club would be the perfect place. But like, I feel like
everybody poops, right? Well, it's not a one-way street. That's what I'm saying.
What they leave out of everybody poops is where they poop. Everybody poops
on a glass coffee table,
other people's chests.
That's in the book Danny Thomas Poops, I think.
Exactly. It's a coffee table book.
Yeah, that wrote itself.
Okay,
I like that.
So, the Armory Club, I say that only because, like, you're not going to be, and then Lipo Lounge, too. Like, I feel like a lot of people, like you were saying, this kind of sounds quasi-racist. Like, they're like, you know, out-of-towners love to go to Chinatown. Like,
right.
You know, it's like, ooh, look at this crazy place with different-looking people.
Chinese food town.
Chinese food town. I had, like, a friend that was, like, we were walking up Grant Street through Chinatown, and I had totally forgotten that it was Chinese New Year. And my friend was in from out of town, and we were going to North Beach.
You're like, here, take all this acid.
No. Well, we're walking through Chinatown.
Is that a dragon?
We're walking through Chinatown, and, like, everybody's throwing fireworks everywhere. And my friend just goes, oh, my God, does this happen all the time? I'm like, Dave, it's Chinese New Year. Don't be such a racist. So
that would have been great, though, to, like, leave him thinking that, like, Chinatown is just, like, people throwing firecrackers at each other all the time.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's like Chinatown's like that scene at the end of Boogie Nights where everybody's coked up and throwing firecrackers
morning,
at each
noon,
other.
and night. Like, you could go to Chinatown at, like, 4 in the morning, and, like, people would be, like, dressed as dragons throwing fireworks at you.
But so out of town, I did pick the Lipo Lounge. They have a great, what's it, a hurricane or... They make a amazing like hurricane there drink, but I'm gonna go with the Armory Club just because I feel like it's a place that you're not gonna find in a whole lot of other cities.
Cool.
It's like if you and I went to
totally
like
agree.
Fort Worth right now and said, "Hey, where's the bondage bar?" People would be like, "We have Texas Christian University here."
Sorry. You have any bars with paintings of women with whips stuck up their asses?
Exactly. You know, do you know a place where I can get a good ball gag?
Like, oh, well, that'd be the church. Wah, 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 wah.
All right, so why don't you?
Want me to do the next category?
Yeah.
Next category. Webster's Dictionary defines old as the host of
1
SF
foot in the
Barkast.
grave.
So best old bar, and like and when we say old, we don't necessarily mean by age necessarily, but like a bar that's been here more than a couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
And
so you want me to go? Okay,
sure.
So
you
here
give
are
me your
my
nominees and winners.
here are my three nominees. I have the Little Shamrock, mostly on the case that it is, I think, arguably like one of the oldest bars in the city. I think it dates back to like, you know, it's so weird when like you talk about San Francisco. Like, this is one of the oldest things in the city. It was like 1892.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if we had like a European sitting here, they'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like so like
that 300 place has been here since like Jesus Christ used to get drunk in the corner.
300 years ago, this place was like nothing but like sober Indians.
Right.
Okay, so my 3 nominees are the Little Shamrock,
right.
the 3300 Club, and Specs. I think I'm going to go with Specs.
Specs is a good choice.
The 3300 Club definitely it has been there for a long time, and it's got sort of an older, like, older vibe to it.
Right.
But I think I'm going to go with Specs because, like, when you go to Specs, first off, the clientele there is very old. Right. And I'm not saying they're old, but the place smells like a Bible story in there. And
I don't have a "you're so old" that joke in the.
But like I remember when there was one summer where I hung out with these 3 Irish girls, and like their biggest complaint about San Francisco was they didn't know where all the old people were, because they were saying in Dublin and in Belfast, everybody goes to the bar. It's the pub.
Right.
It's the public. Everybody goes there. But like in San Francisco, there's no old people in any of the bars.
Like that.
And
they're all piled on top of each other at Terry's Lodge.
What I should have done is just brought her right to Specs. And just been like, check it out. Look at this guy. This guy's really old.
Look at this guy. He died 20 years ago. Like, okay, so my, I think the only nominee that I had that you didn't mention was the Latin American Club. I feel like that place has been there for a while. I mean, even if it's not like past like the 60s or something, like it feels like an old part of San Francisco to me at this point. And the one that I chose as the winner actually was the Lipo Lounge.
A Lipo Lounge,
yeah. Because it's something that feels like it's been there for a long, long, long time.
I feel like Lipo. I don't go to Lipo Lounge enough to like know if like their clientele kind of feels old. But like the Latin American Club, I will say it does have sort of an old vibe to it, but only if old. By old, you mean someone who bought like a David Bowie album before like fucking like
Tin Machine.
Yeah, before Let's Dance, you know.
Right, exactly.
All right. So
want to do like let's do the next category and then we'll take a break.
Okay, yeah. So the next category is Best New Bar.
New bar.
Andrew, what do you got for Best New Bar?
We went to a few new bars this year, and I would say on the short list for me were ABV that took over where the Tokyo Go-Go used to be,
Go-Go,
correct?
Yes.
And
on 16th Street?
On 16th, between Albion and Guerrero. And Urban Putt was another
Urban Putt?
That surprised me in that, like, I sort of expected to hate it a lot more than I did. And, like, it actually the design of it's kind of cute and not, it's not as offensive, like, to all senses as I thought it would be.
It's totally fine that, like, you thought you were going to hate it and you're like, oh, I don't hate it that much because I picked up the slack.
There we go. And my winner, and it's I think it's less than 2 years old, is the Dog Patch Saloon. Like,
oh, really?
Like, yeah. So that's fairly new. So that won for me. I thought that was a good place.
Yeah, I didn't have any a whole lot of like nominees because I know like we did like Urban Putt, we did Brewcade, which had just opened.
Right.
But I am going with ABV.
ABV, good choice.
ABV is like one of those bars where, like, just the concept of it, like I'm thinking, I'm not going to like this, you know?
Yeah.
But you go in there, you sit down, their kitchen is open at 2 in the afternoon now.
Right.
The bartenders there have always been, like, super sweet to me.
Yeah.
And, like, even if, like, it's like one of those bars where it's like, even if the clientele, like, is probably people you wouldn't hang out with, like, the bar has done such a good job.
Yeah. It's a really, like, the couple times I've been there have been sort of late afternoon, and it's a great place for that time of the day because it is it is sort of like an artisan cocktail bar where it's going to take more than 30 seconds to make a drink, and so So if you go there in like the late afternoon, the bartender actually sort of has the time to like, you know, you don't feel like you're stressing the bartender out by ordering or, you know, any of those like sort of things. Like,
and also I want to like say something that like a guest of ours said. Like Parker Gibbs was talking about, like if you're at a bar where there's a lot of muddling going on for the drinks, he's like, I'm out, right? And generally, I kind of took that to heart. And I don't know if, like, how much muddling is going on at ABV, but the drinks are a little bit more fancy than just, like, fucking bullet neat. But
exactly,
it doesn't take – it's not out of control muddling and –
Right. I mean, like, well, they have a fair amount of, like, fancy mezcals and, like, you know, and, like, their own syrups and stuff like that they use. But, like, it doesn't seem to be, like, as – work intensive as a lot of artisan bars are.
It's like if you're waiting behind somebody who orders like 3 drinks, you're not going to have to wait like 15 minutes for him to fucking finish whatever.
Exactly.
All right. So that's it. But my best new bar was ABV. And what was yours?
Mine was Dog Patch.
Dog Patch Saloon.
So all right, we should take a quick break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with more of our best of the year See You in Hell 2014 special.
Right on.
SF Barkast from the BlindCat. All right, and we are back at the BlindCat.
Back at the BlindCat for the 2014 year-end spectacular.
See You in Hell.
Awardees, the Barkasties.
The Casties.
The Casties.
During one of my trivia contests, one of the questions was, what the award, the Shorties, what is that given to?
Ooh, hot females?
Shorties? Like, no, not the best midget of the year.
Best looking babies?
It is given to tweets.
Shorties.
You can get an award for one of your like random 140 character reflections.
It should be called like the Tweeties or something rather.
What?
Seems like it should be called the Tweeties or something. Like to me, like.
I think that was taken.
Oh, competing award shows. It's like.
I think they actually opened it up too. It was originally only for tweets, and now they've opened it up to like Instagram posts and Facebook posts.
Great.
So they're changing with the times.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like, oh, you're still just only paying attention to tweets, huh? Like, good for you.
What is the best kitten video? All right, so let's get back to the categories.
Get back into it. What do we got next?
This is our best of list. So best jukebox of the year. What would you? This is kind of a hard. I feel like
this category is like, I dare say, almost extinct because like jukeboxes just aren't what they used to be. Like even close. I mean, like you walk into a place and like either they have an old style jukebox with actual CDs in it. Which is like more and more rare, or just connected to the internet.
I feel like those are the only jukebox that should qualify because, we're here at BlindCat, and they've got a jukebox which probably has, I don't know, like fucking 2,000 songs on it.
Right.
But if you're at a bar where they have actual CDs in there, then then you have to give them credit for choosing those CDs.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even 100% sure if this qualifies or not. Because I sort of remember it having one of those type of jukeboxes, but does the Casanova have like an actual jukebox?
Nope, not anymore.
It doesn't anymore. Okay, well then I'm screwed. Like I think my alternate selection was like the 3300 Club or something.
There you go, Andrew. You for best jukebox of the year, you chose a bar that doesn't have a jukebox. That's kind of a protest vote.
How about this place?
I've
enjoyed everything I've heard so far at this place.
You might as well just go out and vote for Ralph Nader.
I'm changing my vote to Ralph Nader.
For me, best jukebox, I had a tough time with it as well. I had the Pig and Whistle, which has a lot of, it's an English bar, and it has a lot of like that English.
Manchester
English
sound.
Yeah, Manchester. All that Britpop bullshit.
All that horse shit. All that One Direction.
And also, I like the jukebox at Edinburgh Castle, so I think I'm going to go with Edinburgh Castle.
That's a good choice. I'll piggyback on yours, and I'll say Edinburgh Castle.
I think it's
unanimous.
I believe they had a couple of Massive Attack CDs on there.
Ooh.
And that just kind of puts you over the top.
Right.
The first Massive Attack CD I ever bought, I was at Tower Records, to give you an idea of how long ago it was. And the cashier is training another cashier. So he's like telling him, okay, so you scan it here, then you look over here and do this, and he picks up like the Massive Attack CD and just looks at it and like says to the guy he's training, also, anyone who's buying Massive Attack, just assume they're cool. And then he goes right back into training them.
So you're not swayed in your opinion of best jukebox by my playing Holy Diver by Dio right now. You're gonna change your vote to the BlindCat.
We did not lose Ronnie James Dio this year, but I think we lost him last year.
We did lose him. I know that
also
much.
Somebody else we lost this year was what's his name? Grossest Humongous from Guar or whatever his name is.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. In fact, I think that we paid homage to that during the Lipo Lounge episode and played a Guar song on this very show. So we've paid our tribute.
Where do you think, like, during the Oscars broadcast this year, where do you think in the in memoriam they're going to put the lead singer of Guar?
Well, what movie was he featured heavily in?
Was that one about like space aliens coming down to take over the world through punk music?
Yeah, I think that must be the one. All right, the next category is the nicest guest, and like, the more I think about this category, the more it seems like passive aggressive, where it's like, oh, you were so nice, you know. But this is, I mean, like, this can also serve as, you know, sort of a guest that was just like very kind to us rather than you know.
It does feel almost sarcastic. Coming from two people with like dark and cynical senses of humor. They're like, yeah, you're the nicest. Yeah, come over here, let me pinch your cheek. All right, so who are you making fun of?
So my short list, I think, was Steve Henry for sure, a friend of ours, you know, great guy. Nato Green was a super nice guy. Matt Morales was a super nice guy.
Wait, who was the last one?
Nato Green was like a super nice guy. Matt Morales was like a super nice guy. But I think that like the guy that stood out as just, yeah, and has always been super nice guy all the time, and that's Kevin Monroe.
Oh, Kevin Monroe?
Yeah, Kevin Monroe.
Never heard of him.
I seem to remember him. He's one of the 2 black guys we had on the show. 4 black people we had on the show this year.
Oh my God. So for me, it is a really hard one as well. I had Monroe and I had Kasim Bentley up there. Kasim, because he explained to me that he saw that I had a Samsung phone and not an iPhone, and he said, why do you have a Samsung? I was like, I don't know, I like it better than the iPhone. Right. And he goes, that's a black phone. And I was like, that couldn't have been a better compliment for me. So, but also I had Matt Morales nominated. He was like super nice to us. Also, Matt was kind enough to, you know, in a moment of vulnerability, he opened up to us and told us how much he loves Phil Collins and Genesis.
Right.
And
at the possible expense of his career as a musician.
Exactly. Well, it's not like, we'll cut that out. We don't want him to.
Right, we'll just cut out all mentions of Matt Morales.
But I'm going to go with Matt Lieb.
Matt Lieb, good choice.
Matt Lieb was a very sweet guy, and he opened up to us. Like, I had no idea about his past, and like, you know, he's like one of the we've had a few people on the Barcast who don't drink, and he explained to us like why he doesn't drink, and I was like, holy shit. Like, he kind of went through the fire with some substance and some drinking and substance abuse. And he's, like, been 5 years sober now, and he's just couldn't be – not only is he super hilarious and, like, his career's, like, you know, skyrocketing, but he's also, like, just, like, one of the nicest guys you're going to meet.
Like,
you know?
Like, speaking of which
he's like the anti-Barry Sobel.
Like Miles K., who hasn't been on the show, but, you know, probably will be someday. And he went through his own like speed issues, but like I saw a recent tweet of his that made me laugh, and that was There was a hashtag, I think, that was called, like, awkward things to say while speed dating.
While speed dating?
Speed dating, and, like, his response was, like, so, who's got the speed? Which, just great. Good for Miles K. And good for Matt Lee. Great choice.
All right, and, okay, so the next category is, it's kind of hard to differentiate. Well, this is not the nicest guest. This is the best guest.
Oh, best guest. Okay.
You're the best guest. I feel like we should also, like, we're going to, like, expand this a little bit more, but who do you have for your favorite guest of 2014?
Well, I mean, a couple of ones really stood out. I thought Dave, is it just Borey? Like
David Borey,
the G is silent. Dave Borey and Andre Parker were great. Nato Green was really great. Matt Rouse was great. Matt Lee was great. But I think my favorite guest of the year was Parker Gibbs.
I honestly, Andrew, I don't like it when you're cheating off my paper. Okay, because I really enjoyed having Kasim Bentley, Chris Tinkle,
right.
Definitely Kevin Monroe, and like Tobin, all the, and like of course like it's always good to have like Kevin Montgomery on because he's like a recurring character. He's like our Chris Elliott,
right?
Who just kind of like shows up and is hilarious and then takes off.
Right.
But I'm going to go with Parker Gibbs as well. I mean, for no other reason, like he told us some story about how he was in charge of Stevie Ray Vaughan, which also meant he was in charge of getting Stevie Ray Vaughan cocaine, way back in the day. And it's just like, and we've had a lot of like interesting and very funny comedians on the show, I think Parker had like probably the best stories.
Yeah, totally.
Also, like I have, I don't know if you have this as a category, most interesting guest. Parker is like right up there, but I would also go with Andre Parker.
Yeah.
Who we did the Geary Club. It was you and me and David Borey and Andre Parker. Now, David Borey is a like up and coming comedian in San Francisco. Andre Parker is like somebody who lives with him, who has done comedy here and there.
Right.
And Andre is like such a sort of, soft-spoken, kind of low-key guy. You get a couple drinks in him in a bar, and he's got all these crazy stories.
Right.
You like mention a bar, he's like, oh yeah, I got into a fight in that bar. It's like, oh, and like we're interviewing him, and he sees somebody, he's like, oh, I may have to leave. Like this bitch kicked me out of here once, and he's like, yeah, I used to work at a strip club. I was the guy who handed out mints in the men's room. It's like one of the most unassuming guys you're ever going to meet. Who's got incredible stories. When you meet Parker Gibbs, you immediately know, oh no, this guy's got stories.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah, definitely.
And that's probably why he's my favorite guest of the year.
All right. Well, what else do you have? Like, what other categories do we?
Best sports bar.
Best sports bar. All right. The crack of the bat. The swish of the hoop.
Exactly. I don't know. I go
Jock
to a lot.
Of the itch.
The rearranging of the jewels.
There's a few sports bars we went to this year. I guess I would consider Park 77 to be a sports bar, essentially, as well as Mad Dog in the Fog and Zeke's. And, like, even San Francisco Athletic Club, for sure. That's definitely a sports bar. And but I think, like, probably my favorite was the Kezar.
Yeah, actually, that's on my list.
Kezar is always a good time. It's it's like pretty reliable wings, and usually no matter what sport you're into, there's going to be a pretty good sized contingent of people like.
And it's been there for a while, and the food is good. And like I think like we had a perfect experience there because we went there to watch one of the very first World Cup games.
Right.
And of course the place is packed. And like when you're watching World Cup, you just like start talking to people around you. It's a completely different experience if you're watching, a fucking Giants game.
Right.
It's like, you got people there was some guy who was like sitting, I think we were watching a Spain-Argentina game.
Spain-Netherlands, actually.
Spain-Netherlands.
Okay, yeah.
There was a guy next to me who was Latino. I don't know what nationality he was.
Right.
But he was explaining to me, he was like, fuck Spain. He's like, I was like, what? He's like, fuck Spain. They think they're better than all the other Latino countries. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know this. I was like, do tell. Go, continue.
Right.
So
it's like, ooh, I'm always fascinated to learn about new forms of racism.
Exactly. Like, this is a flavor of prejudice I have not been exposed to yet.
That's right. Like, I do not have anti-Spain hatred in my arsenal at all.
I don't know why I should hate Spain, but I'm willing to learn.
That's right. You tell me what to hate, and I'll do it.
So for me, on my list, well, we went to Kilowatt a second time for 2 years in a row, and I think that's a great sports bar, but I'm not going to pick that because I probably picked it last year.
Right.
I had Bloom's, although we didn't go there for a sporting event.
Yeah, but we've been there before.
Mad Dog. I have Rec Room, but I can't remember where that is.
Oh, the Rec Room is the former richest sports bar in
California. No, actually, that's a pretty good sports bar.
Yeah.
You know what? It's almost like too much of a sports bar for me, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, you want to play foosball and, you know, no pinball. Do you want to play darts? You want to, like, punch this punching bag as hard as you can? Like, that's the Rec Room. But I think I'm going to go. I had Mad Dog on the list as well. I think I'm going to go with Kezar.
Yeah.
For all the reasons I just said.
Totally. That's a good pick. All right, you want to take another quick break?
Yeah, let's take a break, and then we'll be back to try to wrap up our best of the year.
Indeed.
All right, this is SFBarkast from BlindCat. All right, this is SFBarkast, and we are back at the Barcast is back at the BlindCat.
Indeed, seeing off the shittiest year on record, 2014.
Seeing it off, like watching it sink to the bottom of the ocean.
That's right. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, year.
Where the good Lord split you.
What's our next category?
Our next category is Best Beer/Drink Selection.
Beers. We had to change this from beer slash just beer selection to beer slash drink. I mean, you waver in between wine and beer, and I waver in between drinking and not drinking.
You know what? Andrew, both you and I, we're growing up. You know, we're not like just drinking PBR until we like black out.
Right.
We have
although I do have a fondness remembering those days.
Yeah, you mean like 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you have for your best beer/drink selection?
A couple of nominees that I had. I again think the selection at ABV is very good. I mean, like they have a few tapped beers and a few bottled beers, and like I say, like a large mezcal selection and stuff like that. Brewcade, I thought like had a really good selection of beers.
Okay.
But I think the one that caught my eye the most was Chomp and Swig.
Oh,
I thought that
now why Chomp and Swig? It was the beer selection.
It was really extensive, and it looked like you could get like decent food there, or like there was a hot wings place next door that some crazy Asian guy runs.
Okay.
So it just seemed like a good selection of beers mostly.
See, now, you know me quite well, and you know that probably about 4 months ago I stopped drinking beer, although today
right.
I started drinking wine instead of beer, just to sort of, cut down on the carbs.
Exactly.
And so for like the last third of the year, I've been drinking nothing but wine.
Nice.
So it's a little bit harder for me to figure out, because I used to be really, if some place had 77 taps, I used to be super impressed. It was oh my God, you got that beer that's brewed by Mormon surfers.
Right. Or you just pick the one that had the highest alcohol content on it. You're like that's bound to be good. 17% alcohol, right?
So you had to distill this, right?
Exactly.
But I have to admit, probably this one jumped out at me just because they make a drink there that every time I go back there, I go back and get it, and it's ABV. They have a drink called the Fogarty. And it's called a Fogarty because, I guess the ingredients are CCR. It's rye, curacao, or whatever it is, and something else that begins with a C.
Cum, probably.
Probably, yes, exactly. It's a quick sort of whiskey drink
Yeah.
So that they make, and it's like it's my favorite of the year. So
it's got to be the best thing ever associated with John Fogerty.
True. I'm surprised John Fogerty hasn't sued them for
for him. Well, actually, like John Fogerty will start his own bar and have a drink called the Fogerty, and then sue himself.
He's like, don't you know that I have trademarked the letters C, C, and R? Wait a minute, you trademarked C twice? Yes, I trademarked C twice, right. And I own that.
They said I was crazy, and they were absolutely right.
So I'm going to go with ABV because they're and also when we were there, the bartender, I forget his name. He kept bringing over like these samples of like, like when somebody's like really into their whiskey or whatever. He's like,
right.
Hey, check this out. Like, try some of this. And you might as well pour it down the drain because like the two of us aren't going to like really properly appreciate. We're not going to be like, oh my God, that's the best like whiskey I've ever had. We're like, I'm really going to enjoy.
What if we were totally offended? We like took like a sip of it and we're like, you pass this swill on to us, you fucking plebeian, and like fling the shot glass into the wall.
It's like like whenever like I ask a bartender for like a good whiskey, and they say like, oh, what do you like? I have to stop myself from saying, well, what is going to taste the least bad coming back up like when I vomit?
That's right. What do police prefer to clean out of the back of a squad car?
Exactly.
That's what I want.
Spalding Gray, rest in peace.
Right.
He had a great story about when he was a kid, he and his friend would drink vodka.
Right.
And they would get drunk on vodka. And, like, their reasoning was that vodka is odorless. So, like, you wouldn't be able to smell it. And at one point, they got, like, really drunk. They were running around the neighborhood, and someone, like, called the cops because there's two guys, like, sliding around in everybody's front lawns.
Right.
And, like, cop just showed up and just said, hey, boys, open the back of the cruiser, said, get in the car. And his friend just goes, wait, why? And he's like, because you're drunk, that's why. And his friend just goes, you can't smell vodka. So there you go.
Perfect crime foiled.
So what is next, Andrew?
Next, I believe, is our favorite bartender. And, like, of course, we're terrible with names. And, like, so...
that guy behind the bar, I believe.
Yeah, he was the one that was serving drinks on that day. I think that was the guy I liked. But some of my my short list is either the Edinburgh Castle.
Oh, yeah, I remember that dude.
That's a good bartender. ABV, obviously, we've discussed that a lot.
Yeah, because the guy kept bringing us great little shots.
Indeed, and the 3300 Club.
Yes.
Like, I can't remember that guy's name either, but it was odd.
Yeah, it was like, oh, man, I'll remember. It was something like Surge. But
something like that, yeah. Like, it didn't fit, if I was looking at him and somebody asked me to name him, I wouldn't have guessed what his name is, So that guy at the 3300 Club.
Is that your final answer?
My final answer is actually the bartender at the Geary Club was totally nice, and and put up with us being in a bar that small.
Yeah.
Like like the Geary Club, you're pretty much in everybody's lap, and we're there with Dave Borey and Andre Parker, like talking about like fucking big booty bitches and like sex clubs and whatnot, and they didn't have a problem with it, so good for them.
Yeah, and also like you, I was kind of like shaking my head, looking at you, being like, oh, like he can't remember any of these bartenders' names. Like,
right.
What? He really didn't put any work into this. But I'm this exact same way. The bartenders at El Rio were great.
Right.
They gave it like, in fact, they were like, as soon as they found out what we were doing, they were like super supportive of it. The bartender at the Dog Patch, I forget his name. I'm going to keep saying this. The bartender at the Chomp and Swig, I think, gets some points because I believe you left your credit card there, and they didn't like go to like fucking Mexico with it.
and it took me like about 2.5 weeks to get back there, and so they were very nice to hold on to it for that long, like not just chuck it in the trash.
One of my personal favorites is Miguel at the Doc's Lab, who I see every Monday night. for the open mic night at Doc's Lab, trademark. Sean at the Armory Club is like a very, very good bartender. In fact, I've been there when we weren't there doing the podcast. There was some woman who had passed out, and Sean took care of the situation like a fucking champion. And when I say,
are you saying it's not the first time that someone has wandered off of their porno set at work and then gotten themselves in a condition where they might have lost consciousness?
And when I say, like, he really took care of the situation, like, the security guard, like, yelled at him and, like, pointed to this, like, passed-out girl who was, like, unresponsive
Throw her
to anything.
in the ditch.
And
roll her up in the carpet.
And he just immediately grabbed the phone and dialed 911. I am going. The rec room guys were like super nice to us.
They were.
Remember,
yeah.
like the brothers there. They seemed like total like bros who were just like, yeah, man, like you're in our fraternity. But they were like really nice to us. Tom at Shotwell's was always like nice to me. And okay, Doc's Clock. This is where I'm really getting down to it. Like, I think if I had to like choose a bartender that was there when we were there,
right,
I would choose Lisa from Doc's Clock. But Doc's Clock has this platoon of great bartenders, whether it's Sean or Carrie or the other Carrie or Lisa.
Right.
And like Lisa's like one of those great bartenders who's just got such an amazing personality. Like, I've seen her at other like bars, and she just immediately jumps up and like gives you a big hug.
Right.
But like I would have to go. I'm going to go with Lisa. Although I want to say, if this other bartender was there when we were there, she's my new favorite bartender in the city. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about the person at the Geary Club. This girl, her name is Claire, and she's one of the bartenders at ABV. Not only does she mix a great drink,
a great Fogarty.
What?
A great Fogarty.
A great Fogarty.
Right.
I was there with a couple of people, and like I'm always like more worried that people are getting out of hand. Me or my friends are getting out of hand than anybody else.
Right.
And I felt like my friends were just like really getting way out of hand. It was like, maybe like 4 PM.
That's like the shitty thing that comes with age, isn't it? Is like is feeling guilt about like other people, like because I don't recall ever giving a shit like. If I was with somebody that was having a good time, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, everyone else can go to hell. And, like, now I'm like, oh, God, like, I hope no one sees this.
I think it is something that you do gain with age, but it's a talent. It's like, it's something you have to work hard at. Like, if you're, like, some, like, fucking, 46-year-old guy who doesn't give a shit, if, like, so I'm pissing in the corner. Who cares? Like,
But we already talked about Parker Gibbs.
So, I was at ABV, and it was this one afternoon, and a couple of my friends, I felt like we're crossing the line, right?
Right.
And so I leaned over to Claire, the bartender, and I was like, hey, like, I'm pretty much in charge of these guys. So, like, if
just say the word and I'll have them all killed.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of give me a look I'll usher them to another bar.
Right.
And she was like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "You guys are my only entertainment the whole day." And I thought like we were all like misbehaving, and
right.
She was kind of looking at us cockeyed. So like that kind of goes back to your thing about like the Geary Club bartender. She was super nice to us even though we were like screaming and yelling in the corner.
Right.
Claire at ABV mixes a great drink. She's a total sweetheart, and she's got an incredible high tolerance for douchebaggery or pain.
Well, good. All right.
So there we go.
All right. So next category I have is best food.
All right.
And obviously this takes a lot of bars sort of out of the equation, but I suppose you could use proximity to food as a if you wanted to cheat a little bit. But a couple of places I had in mind. Obviously, the Chomp and Swig did seem to have really good food options.
Officially, that food comes from next door.
Okay, fine. But like and Dear Mom also, even though it's kind of a horrible den of like tech broism. They do have seem to have decent food there. But the place that that I thought actually had the best food, and actually Cha 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 last week has very decent food as well.
Yeah.
But I would say that the ABV actually scores high with me. Like on they have a mapo tofu bao roll, which is like basically like a sort of Chinese taco with
Chinese
spicy
taco?
pork in it.
It's like fucking cultures collide.
I know it's all kinds of shit going on, but they have a few really decent appetizers that I liked a lot, and it may speak more to the fact that we didn't go to a lot of bars that serve food this year than it does to the quality of ABV.
We should have said this at the beginning when we started doing all these categories. Like, these are all. We're only talking about bars that we went to this year.
Oh yeah,
like
totally.
I'm sure like somebody out there is going to be like, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
what about Tommy's fucking margaritas?
Yeah, but like Miss Brown's feed bag's got better food than that.
Miss Brown's feed bag. I want to go to Miss Brown's feed bag for dinner now.
So for me, best food, and like everybody should take my my nominees for the grain of salt, because this is how much I know about food. Right. It goes in the mouth, and that's about it. After that, like, I'm done.
Hey,
actually, no. The only other thing I know about food is if you put lemon on anything, it tastes better.
Lemon on anything?
Yep.
I bet I can think of some things that won't.
You could put lemon on like fiberglass insulation, and you eat the shit, and like it'll taste better.
I eat it. I eat the shit.
Right. So yeah, I had Dear Mom, and like I feel like the food at Dear Mom should get like a check plus, because I really very much did not like that bar.
Right.
But like then when you had the food come, you're like, oh man, it pains me that the food's so good.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel the same way about like Kezar or something like that, where it's like, you know what, you order wings there, you get decent wings.
Yep.
But they're not like life-changing wings by any measure. And like none of their food is that great, but you got what you sort of got what you came for, and like you don't have to like stand in a line with a bunch of like Twitter snobs to get it. So
yeah. So I had as my nominations, Dear Mom, Urban Putt. Again, another bar that I didn't really dig that much, but like the food there was really good.
Right.
Kezar for great like bar food.
Yeah.
ABV, because like I like the small portions. You can get like a small sloppy Joe thing.
Like a little overpriced, but at the same time, like it's nice to have a little bar snack.
I mean, it's overpriced for like the small portions, but the thing is like, you should have small portions.
Right.
Maybe all of you. I'm talking to you out there. Everybody could stand to lose a few.
Yeah, ingrates, you fucking assholes.
Cha Cha Cha. But I'm also I'm gonna have to go with Doc's Lab, because even though Doc's Lab is a comedy venue, like all the food comes downstairs from this real top-notch restaurant above, and we've all, Andrew, you and I have been to like so many comedy clubs across this fair nation of ours, and basically comedy club food, you know what that means. It's like, hey, would you like to try our world-famous microwave nachos?
Would you like some nachos that we got from Applebee's and like warmed up?
Right, exactly. If you ever have the chance to look behind the curtain of like a comedy club, like a kitchen, don't do it. Okay, you don't want to see someone like tearing open a frozen dinner and throwing it into a fucking like microwave.
Exactly.
So if you go to Doc's Lab to see a comedy show and you order food, you're gonna get good fucking food. So that's what I said. We should have called this the good fucking.
I have not enjoyed the food there yet, but I look forward to it, because I do hear great things about the restaurant upstairs.
Michael Bauer seemed to like it.
Oh, hey, I can't argue with that.
All right, and do you want to like? So now we're like rolling up on our heavy hitters. So let's do
heavy hitters. Do you want to like take a break and like do the heavy hitters, or do you want to?
Okay, let's take a break, because like we have like worst bar coming up, and we have best bar coming up. And I believe we have the Drew Harmon Memorial Award. Which I don't know exactly what the parameters for that is, but like
it revolves around a great premise, and that is that Drew Harmon is no longer with us. No, it's
very sad.
A great premise of naming our favorite guest.
Yeah, we should, and we also have our in memoriam.
Indeed.
All right, this is SFBarkast, and we'll be back from the BlindCat. All right, and we are back at the BlindCat. The Blind Cat. And, just as like I had mentioned earlier, Andrew, we were talking about our favorite guests, and I said, like, Kevin Montgomery is kind of like our recurring. He's basically like.
You said, we'll start at the bottom. And then he said Kevin Montgomery.
If anyone is, like, old enough to remember Laughing, where, like, people, like, open the window and then someone just come out and, like, gives, like, a one-liner, Kevin Montgomery is our favorite Laughing character or match game character. Kevin, thank you for coming down.
Yeah, no problem.
The very last Barcast of 2014 before you get drafted and have to go to Vietnam tomorrow.
Yeah. You guys are really phoning it in, too. You only got hours left until it's 2015.
Like.
Oh, well, we want to be authentic.
This
is like we want to be authentic.
99?
This is episode 99.
Wow. Well,
you guys are
you know what?
at a milestone.
It is 99, but who's counting? Kevin Montgomery's counting.
You guys are almost at a milestone here. Well, I was just.
We're at a milestone. Toto wrote a song called 99, and we all love that song.
I was
99 Luft Balloons.
There we go.
I was looking it up because you mentioned what your next categories are, and I wanted to look at your podcast playlist to see which ones you went to this year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And you realize that you're like, oh, I don't like any of these bars.
You realize that means you've done more research than us.
Well, I like some of them on here, but I'll wait until we get to that.
All right, so Kevin, you missed a lot of our like categories, but like we have our two like big hitter categories here.
Exactly. This is when you tune in. Like you can waste your time watching a repeat of the red carpet special.
This is what we've been teasing the entire time, and people have been like listening to hear to the very end.
Exactly.
And we'll be right back with those. No, I mean,
people are extending their workout and saying like, you know what, like I'm just about to drop dead of a heart attack, but I'm gonna continue on this treadmill until they get to the fucking worst and best award.
It's Andrew, worst bar of the year. What are your nominees, and what is your the bar you hated the most?
All right, so my nominees, and I'll go from in like chronological order from from when we started this year.
Oh, thank God!
And thank God indeed. And wasn't too fond of Park 77.
Yep.
Zeke's Sports Bar.
Uh-huh.
Meh. San Francisco Athletic Club, meh. Route 101, kind of dirty, and like served us a pretty shitty beer, as I recall.
Yep.
And finally, Silver Clouds, the gem of the marina karaoke scene, which didn't offend me, but the idea of it should. So I'm going to nominate it for that reason.
What was your worst bar of the year that we went to?
And so my worst bar of the year is the San Francisco Athletic Club, because it just seemed so full of douchebags that I can't even.
I mean, like,
that's a Divisadero, Lower Pack Heights.
It is,
right?
yeah.
It's not. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I mean, Lions Pub.
It used to be like Tortilla Heights or something like that.
It's like
which was better.
Is it Lower Pack Heights? It's like it's right in the middle of Pack Heights.
Yeah.
It's like Divisadero and like Pine, right?
Yeah,
it's right north of Geary.
Right. So
okay. So maybe like Sutter or something like that.
Independent adjacent. Or like,
So I had.
But I just thought it was like like the bar itself didn't offend me necessarily. Like it's a pretty much cookie cutter sports bar, but the clientele like pushed it over.
Well,
the
also
top.
like I wanted to point out that like first off, for you to pick that as your worst bar of the year, you were the one who wanted to go there. So like, I was saying, so like,
oh my God!
I think
I had no idea this would like turn into an indictment on me.
No, exactly. Did you or did you not ever work for the Communist Party?
You can't handle the San Francisco Athletic Club.
No, but like if it's you or if it's me who's like, hey, I really want to go to this place,
right?
And it's super. You already like have this like impression that it's going to be good. Right, and then for you to be so disappointed that it's the bar you hated the most.
It was in the middle of like World Cup fever and all that,
Dude,
so like we were desperate for
exactly when you're supposed to go there. It was like we watched a World Cup game there, and I agree with you. It's on my list of like worst bars of the year.
Can I defend Andrew for a moment here?
No.
Well, I'm going to...
Shut up, Jeff. Yes, go ahead.
I want to say that I know that one of the goals of this podcast here, of the Barcast, is to go to every bar in the city.
Right.
And
I
that
mean,
means at some point you're
number.
Gonna have to suggest shitholes, like upscale shitholes, like the athletic club.
Exactly.
Well, and we've signed a contract too that like if one of us dies, the other one has to drag their corpse to that to bars throughout the San Francisco Bay
After
Area.
we're done,
Weekend at Bernie's the podcast.
Yes, exactly.
After we're done, after we finish doing all of the bars in San Francisco, we're going to start broadcasting from liquor stores, I believe.
That's right,
and maybe like after that, like under
Santa Rosa liquor stores.
like what did you, after that? Like we'll be like reviewing highway underpasses or cruising joints. So for my list of like worst bars, I had there were some bars where I thought going to it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. Like Blur, like Kevin Monroe brought us to Blur, and I was like, I know I'm gonna fucking hate this bar, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of nice when like that happens. I had Silver Cloud on my list. I had Pittsburgh's on my list, only because like I feel like Pittsburgh's is a bar that like drunk people go to if they think they might die.
That's out in the Sunset, right?
Yeah, it's like 46th
deep,
and Irving.
Deep Sunset.
46th and Judah.
Like it's sort of like you have like dive, and then like you have like beyond dive, where it's like you're like oh this is really sad.
Yeah, exactly.
My girlfriend really likes that place and has like said that we should go out there sometime.
You know what? Your girlfriend has a strange idea of romance. It's like,
well, they got
Kevin,
pinball and pool. And
yeah, they've got pinball, they got pool.
Right.
Like, Kevin, do you like seeing a guy who's like 2 months away from collapsing and dying?
How do you
Does
feel
this
about
kind of shit turn you on?
How do you feel about changing a guy's colostomy bag in the alley? If you're pro, then like that's the place to go.
Okay.
Also, I had SF Athletic Club on my list, but for my worst bar of the year, I'm going to say I have to go with Zeke's. Zeke's Sports Bar, which is on 3rd and I think like Harrison.
Yeah, 3rd and Brandon maybe.
Brian. Okay.
Brian. Okay, yeah.
It's like in that south of Market area. It really, I feel like you can spend like 3 hours in Zeke's and then just be like, what the fuck did I just do? Like there's like hardly
what am I doing with my life?
There's hardly any personality. It's a sports bar. Now you know me. I love sports.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's like nothing about it that I found like interesting or compelling.
Yeah,
and actually you go there and the bartender, like, you go up to like get a drink and the bartender was kind of like, what do you want? Like, it's a pain in his ass that you showed up to buy drinks at his bar.
At this point, it seems like Zeke's only exists to like serve people like to and from Giants games, where it's like, it's like, okay, like we'll just like, the rest of the time we'll just stay open for whatever reason, but like we only exist to like when we're packed, like giving idiots
it's a
like
huge football bar. I want to say it's a Packers bar.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I know
it's like a huge
a
Kentucky bar, like Kentucky
it's
basketball.
It's a Kentucky basketball bar.
I know. Well, anyway, some football team loves it. Some football team's fans.
I'm sure they do,
well,
but at the same time,
some football teams' fans should get their shit together and go to a better bar.
I mean, it's ridiculous too because it's
hang out there more just when it's not just football.
It's right across the street from Rick House or Brick House, whatever that burger place is, which isn't the best place in the world, but it's infinitely better than Zeke's, and it's usually empty before a Giants game. Whatever.
There we go.
Yeah. I feel like if you go there, like when the Giants aren't playing, it's just going to be a fucking wasteland.
Yeah.
And I love like wastelands. Like,
usually.
I would love to be in the middle of like West Texas, and if I would hate to be in the middle of Zeke's Sports Bar. All right, so here we go.
All right,
we're down to the nitty gritty.
We've arrived.
Can I just chime in a little bit?
Oh, please.
I wanna say that I know you guys recently did Brewcade.
Yes.
Obviously I haven't been to all the bars that you guys have been to this year, but I was deeply, deeply disappointed with Barcade.
You know what? We were too.
Yeah, we were too.
Totally
I felt
were too.
bad.
They crammed all the video games in one like tiny corner.
Totally.
And and otherwise the place is totally nondescript.
Yeah, it was a horrible use of space.
Yeah. It's amazing how badly they used it.
You couldn't get like 3 players at a machine because it's so tight.
Oh yeah.
No
You're like ass to ass with whoever is playing like next to you. Like
it's like the whole.
Andrew said the magic word, ass to ass. ass.
Ass to ass. I mean,
it's like places are farm to table. Brewcade is ass to ass.
I mean, yeah, it's named Brewcade. It's not like, oh, this is some like she beer bar that happens to have video games.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're desperately trying to attract video game nerds.
They're trying to do what Ground Control does in Portland or Barcade does in Brooklyn, and I'm sorry, that was like a strikeout.
It was apologetic, is how I would describe it. Where it was like we have video games, but we'll keep them out of your way. Don't worry. Like,
it's like
that's not it.
Was it Mission Control in Portland?
Ground Control.
It's like Brewcade is like Mission Control in Portland. If Mission Control didn't give a fuck about the video games,
right.
You know, it's like, but also like not to blow my own horn, but like, how come it's called Brewcade and not Barcade? Barcade?
The name's already taken.
By who?
I think Barcade is like a chain that's copyrighted.
Oh, really?
I'm not certain on that, but that's my suspicion.
I retract my very drunken screaming criticism.
I will also say that they also have this front room. I know for the listeners out there that haven't seen this place, it has this whole front room when you first walk in that they could easily replace the bench of seating they have with just a wall of machines.
Right.
And that way, first of all, it's good for them because it advertises on the street that like, hey, this place has video games.
That's why I say it's like apologetic, where it's like don't worry, like you'll never see the video games if you come to Brewcade. It's like, well, that's the point.
Right.
It's like the drinks are super expensive.
It's like their whole thing is like, we have video games here, but like we keep them in the basement like a mentally disabled like brother that we don't want anyone to know about.
And so, anyways, as far I was looking forward to that bar, probably.
So was I.
I was looking forward to that bar more than any bar that's opened in a long time.
Right.
And I went, and I'm like, I might go back if
more
I'm
than
not
the Royal
working
Tug
on a Monday. It's not the kind of place I would ever go on a weekend because it would be super crowded, and it's just not that good.
No.
Here's the thing I would say though, like when we left Brewcade, I remember saying I gave it a bad review, but I said I know I'll be back just to play Gorf or like other games. So I was back there last night, and after I played Gorf and Donkey Kong Jr. a couple times, they have like 21 like stand-up video games, and like there was nothing else I wanted to play. Like their video game selection is pretty poor.
It's
horrible.
like,
I agree.
It's like
I agree.
There's no Tempest, there's no fucking Defender.
Right.
They don't have the real Centipede. They have that like fucking rip-off one.
Oh, they have Millipede?
Yeah, and also they have they have a ton of different versions of Street Fighter, a ton of different versions of Pac-Man. There's just no Tetris. It's sad.
Yeah.
So anyways,
that just plays into our 2014 was a horrible year. This one this one arcade didn't have Tempest.
Not only did Burt Reynolds go bankrupt, but they introduced 80s video games to San Francisco and in a terrible way.
I mean, journalists were getting
my childhood 2014.
Yeah. I mean, journalists were getting their heads cut off in the Middle East, but there's no Tempest at Brewcade? Come on.
Fuck this. Double birds to you here.
I know you guys already did an episode on it, but suffice it to say, it's not my least favorite bar of the year, but it's definitely the biggest disappointment in a long time.
That should be like the Kevin Montgomery Memorial biggest disappointment of all time bar.
Call me up next year.
You're
a
big disappointment to Kevin Montgomery bar.
Also known as your parents' biggest disappointment bar.
We never liked you, bar.
All right, so here we go, man. Here are the heavy hitters.
Best of.
Best bar of the year. Andrew, what have you got?
All right, so my fifth favorite bar of the year.
Show your work.
I am. Mad Dog in the Fog. Always a great time.
Okay.
A great place. They've done some sort of up modeling, if you will. But it's still a place I really enjoy to go. Number 4, I would have to say Royal Cuckoo in the Outer Mission. Sorry. And I really enjoyed that bar as well. Like the Hammond organ, everything about it was great.
Hammond organ.
Hammond
cheese organ.
Cheese organ. Number 3, the Geary Club, for reasons already discussed. Number 2, the 3300, just because it's such a
that was
great
number 2
local
for
bar.
You?
Yeah, number 2, and
only number 2.
My bar of the year, the Latin American.
Latin American Club, yeah.
Interesting choice.
The old standby.
You're a sucker for the classics.
I am. What can I say?
I had a disaster of a night there the other night.
Well,
I had a couple drinks
at
home.
The allure of the place.
Change your list now, Andrew. So, what happened to you at the
I just I remember when I first moved to the neighborhood, since I live right down the street from Latin America Club, I'm only a block away. That was one of the first bars I went to regularly, and all my friends called it the Blackout Bar because all their drinks are so fucking strong that it's really hard to go there, even if you pace yourself to not just lose your shit. And I mean, like, anyone that has been there knows about the margaritas, which are...
The margaritas are, like, world famous.
Yeah, they have to be, like, 5 shots of tequila in a splash of lime. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I feel like if you were in an AA meeting and you mentioned the margaritas at the Latin American Club, people would just start crying and hugging each other.
It's okay. We'll get through it.
We've all been there. Don't worry, you're a good person.
Yeah, but I had like a few drinks, met a friend there, had one margarita, and then next thing I know, we're like walking to Doc's Clock because we're like, oh, I think Lisa's working. And, like,
hey, let's go to Porto Alegre and have their margaritas.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? Is this story about time traveling? As Dave Attell would say, his old joke was like, you ever like black out in one bar and wake up in another bar, or as I like to call it, time travel?
Yeah, basically. Although we set some high scores on the pinball machine at Doc, so I guess we weren't that bad.
You have no recollection of it, though.
I have photo evidence.
Excellent.
Okay. Anyways.
All right. So here are my honorable mentions that didn't make my top 5. Geary Club, Royal Cuckoo. These are all bars I love. Just didn't make it into my top 5. Latin American, Little Shamrock, the Nightlight in Oakland, Doc's Lab, Blooms. Like, for some reason, like, I feel like when we went into Blooms, we were supposed to hate it, and it was super. It's super charming in a sort of abusive grandfather kind of way.
Right.
And the 3300 Club. My number 5 bar of the year, and it's one of those ones where like I was surprised that I liked it that much, was the Armory Club. Like, it's not my type of bar. Like, you know me, I tend to be more of like a dive bar kind of cat.
I know you, and I know that you don't usually like to have like the grip end of a whip shoved up your ass and have your picture taken. So I understand why you might not be immediately drawn to the Armory Club.
I mean, Andrew, like, this is why we do this. We learn things about ourselves. I had no idea I liked looking at like tied up girls with ball gags on the wall, and come to find out,
we are.
But here we are, right? Exactly.
And cocktails are relatively cheap, which is
relatively cheap.
They were not
that's
expensive.
Like solid. Yeah.
Bartenders there are really good.
If you
location's all right. I mean, rest in peace, Ace Cafe. But
yeah, exactly. And like, also, like, one of the things I liked about the Armory Club is that, like, you know, it took over from a place I liked, and I didn't automatically hate the Armory Club.
Yep.
All right, so my number 4 bar is the Lipo Lounge. It's like one of those bars where it's just like I hardly ever get down to Chinatown.
Yeah.
And like when you're in there, you can like smell the character
right
in that bar. You can just kind of like just put your nose down to the floor and you're like, what is that?
And not in any sort of touristy way either. Like, I mean, like, you know, it's not like they're not putting on like an act or anything like that. It's a legit fucking like Chinatown, like, kind of semi-crazy bar. Like, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen if you go to the Lipo.
I think earlier in the Barcast I said it was they had a Hurricane that was their number 1 drink, but no, it's their Mai Tai, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
They're known for their Mai Tai.
Their Mai Tai is, I think it's like a national monument or something at this point. Yeah, it totally is.
It's mostly like Windex.
Like, who would win in a fight, the margarita at the Latin American Club or the Mai Tai at Lipo Lounge?
Oh, wow. Latin American Club, hands down.
Really, you think so?
I think
I would pay to see both of them get.
The prison system would win in that scenario.
I would pay to see both of them get into the octagon and like just see what happens.
You know, one of
get Joe Rogan to announce it.
As much as I like hate celebrity chefs, I was really impressed with Anthony Bourdain's episode of like whatever show he does where he came to San Francisco.
He went to Lipo
because he went to Lipo, and I was like, you know what? Like, it's well known, but that's a good choice.
Right.
And he went
I want to say, like,
Bender's.
same episode, he might have gone to like Mr. Bing's as well. And
He went to a few corny ones, but he also went to Bender's, and Bender's wouldn't let him in. So they just showed some shots like, we tried to go here, but they were like, no, we're not going to turn off our jukebox for you, so you have to get out.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, you should see that clip where they're just like, "Fuck you, Bourdain." I'm like, I love that.
Bourdain's like, but I need to score some heroin.
The funny thing is, I was going to mention, like, it seems like both, because like last year's the 2013 like year-end spectacular was from Bender's, and this one is from from BlindCat. And like both of these bars, I feel like are good enough to like rank on like a best of the year, list. But it sort of does them like a disservice that we do the award show from here. But at the same time, we're trying to like I think it's a good thing that we do the episodes in a bar that we would ordinarily give like best bar to, because like it sort of takes them out of the
I would
mix.
Put this bar on my like honorable mention list.
Oh, totally, yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is not a top 5 bar.
It's not top 5, but it's in my top,
I might put it top
maybe
5
in the top
from
15.
this year.
From this year, top 15. All right, so number 3.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Andrew's like, what, we're not done yet?
Oh, jeez. I'll go back to sleep.
You go to your car and like warm up the engine. My number 3 bar is El Rio.
El Rio, nice choice.
Because they have like that amazing backyard.
Yeah.
Where you can go back there. Like if you ever have like a day off from work and it's like sunny out, you go to El Rio. You go back there, you can play ping pong. You can like play with like they have like 2 bar cats who are like super charming.
Right.
And everything, and also you can go see like bands down there too. Like there's so much like cool shit that's going on at El Rio.
DJs going on like every afternoon there practically. Yeah.
And also it's been there forever.
Yeah.
And it's just like you feel like it's like this one like pillar of stability in a mission that is like constantly getting like gentrified over.
Right.
Okay, so my number 2 bar is like a bar that when I first sat down to do this list, I was like, it probably won't be in there, but like we've mentioned it so many times that like I have to put ABV there. Like it's a brand new bar. I talked about how much I like the bartenders there. I like the drinks there. I like the food there. And I'm like kind of like, well, why don't I have it on my top like 5 list? And I couldn't come up with a reason why not. So it's on there, and like it's surprising to me as well. So like basically like I'm like a mathematician. I did all the calculations, and ABV is right there, and it's a bar that's like not too far from where I live, and I don't go there that much, but every time I do go there, I'm not the typical clientele for there, but every time I go there, I have a good time. So like hey, ABV,
hey, good for them.
Like rookie of the year,
That's right. When they're not getting their butt slapped with towels by rookies, like for being a rookie,
you gotta like get hazed a little bit, ABV. Come on. And so my number 1 bar of the year, like really like a part of it is because it also has been there for a long time, but part of it we've talked about before, where I love the bartenders, I love the vibe there, is Doc's Clock.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, like all 4 of the bartenders. There's 2 bartenders named Carrie. There's one named Sean. There's one Lisa, and Lisa is like just like this amazing bartender.
Lisa would be the only bartender there that's not that doesn't share the name of a former roommate of yours.
Lisa, Sean,
and Carrie. Yeah.
Wait, did I live with a Carrie?
I thought you did.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
Anyway, Doc's Clock, it's great. Like, and Kevin, like, you can jump in here as well.
I love Doc's Clock.
There have been many nights where both of us are probably like completely ready to like call it a night, and you're like, meet me at Doc's Clock. We're gonna play Pirates of the Caribbean. They've got like a pool pinball table there. They've got shuffleboard, and there's like a lot of room there. And it's just like every time I go in there, I feel like really welcome. It's a very friendly place. And also, one of my favorite things I ever saw was at Doc's Clock this year, where someone came up and tried to order like, okay, can I get like a Sex on the Beach and a fuzzy navel? and like fucking Sean, the bartender, just kind of like waited for him to like say all the drinks, and he was like shaking his head back and forth, and he just goes, hey, we're not a fancy bar. You don't get fancy drinks. And the guy's just like, all right, how about some PBRs? And he's like, yeah,
he picks
I can do
up a bottle of like Olympia and like says like, hey, heads up, and like hucks it at the wall.
So yeah, Doc's Clock. It's also like once again a pillar of the mission.
Community.
Pillar of the community. Pillar of the alcoholic community. Kevin, what do you?
I like also that none of those are actually fancy drinks. They're like college drinks.
Right. It's like I'm not making an Alabama Slam or whatever that is.
So I have a couple things I want to get to, but I'll do this in order real fast. Since I did my biggest disappointment of the year, let's do the biggest surprise of the year. I'm gonna say Doc's Lab. I didn't I know you had been telling me all along that you had high hopes for this place. I did not. I was like
It was because Jeff had high hopes for it.
I was like, Purple Onion was this historic venue. Yeah. Some guy that's mainly in the restaurant business is taking it over. This guy is comedy's an afterthought to this dude. I'm sure
very little reason to think this would work.
Upstairs will be great. I'm sure the downstairs will fucking peter out and it'll turn into a cocktail bar. And I went there with Jeff pretty soon after it opened, and you know what? They did a great job.
Yeah, I have to say,
I'll have to say
for an iconic space, especially. Yeah. That's. There's not many people I would say that regard the Purple Onion as this untouchable space, but those who do, I think wouldn't hate what it's become because it's still the same it's still under Columbus Street and and features that and that's a great idea.
They modernized it without ruining it.
Yeah,
exactly.
They definitely,
which is rare.
Yeah, totally.
They definitely cleaned it up compared to the old Purple Onion. Yeah. But the old Purple Onion, oh my God, it needed some fucking cleaning up.
Oh, totally.
In a big fucking way.
Right.
Mario didn't want to put any money into the place.
Well, he was busy chasing after that gorilla with a big giant hammer or whatever.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I think that was that Brewcade.
Exactly. Yeah.
Although I do remember before
red overalls were in the wash that day.
Before a comedy show that we did at the old Purple Onion, I went into I always check the men's and the ladies' room to make sure everything's stocked.
Right.
And I went into I told the bartender, I was like, hey, I just want to let you know you're out of toilet paper in the men's room. And the bartender looked at me and said, wait a minute. There's toilet paper in the men's room? And he was joking, but honestly, that's kind of the way the old Purple Onion was run.
He said toilet paper. Is that heroin or Coke?
I also really like the detail where they have they have the comics mic wired up to the bathroom, so when you go to the bathroom, you can still hear the set.
Yeah, because when you're blowing lines in the bathroom, you don't want to miss any dick joke possible.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I wouldn't, if I was ranking just straight up bars, that wouldn't be on my top 5. But it was
a big surprise.
I was hugely surprised and really happy.
With
how it turned out.
I mentioned Blur, Kevin Monroe brought us to Blur, and I thought I'm gonna fucking hate this bar, and I thought it was great. So there we go.
I would say the same thing about Chomp and Swig, where I sort of expected this is gonna be some, bullshit outpost out in the middle of the Richmond whatever, and but it's actually kind of a fun hangout place and smaller than I thought. I thought it would be like a revamped Last Day Saloon kind of scenario or something like that, but it's smaller and more intimate than that.
So I won't
do we have a Drew Harmon Memorial Award? I don't know what that's for.
Can I jump in before we stop with the?
We're almost done.
Right. So last year, I know your favorite bar was Hotspot. Right?
It was, yeah. So I haven't been to the renovated version yet.
I was going to say, then that sort of spikes the question. But Hotspot, famously shut down, in February or something. And it was shut down basically until a couple months ago.
Well,
and
right. And
everyone was convinced it was not going to reopen. And then, suddenly it's just
I assumed it would reopen, but as a, only for Twitter employees kind of establishment.
Dude, there's no way you cannot reopen that. In that space, in that location, there's no way you can't reopen it.
Right.
Because... you have Twitter, you have Square, you have Uber, all these places right around there.
If you possibly could, if it wasn't being converted to office space.
So I was going to ask you what you thought of the new one compared to the old one.
I haven't been
guess
to it,
that question's moot.
I know you and I, Kevin, we're going to disagree on this because I think the new one is totally fine, and you dislike the new one.
You know what? I've been back since the first time you and right as it reopened. Jeff and I went there and checked it out. But it just felt like it was kind of this, it felt a little sterile to me.
Yeah.
But they've started re-adding some of the old elements. They didn't, for example, they're famous for having Hungry Man dinners. I don't believe that's back, but they've, started bringing some of the classicness back. They have Drinko back, their drinking game.
Fantastic.
Oh, really?
So, to me, it's I'm starting to appreciate it again. I've gotten over the fact that it's polished, and I think... Right. and the bathrooms work, which is huge. So like, I mean,
I felt the same way about like Terry's Lodge when we went there. Like where it's like that place was a like desolate like looking VFW lodge, and they cleaned it up and they painted a bunch of stuff black, and it looks like a modern bar now. But at the same time, it's like
this is why I love Kevin and you, Andrew, as well. Is because like. Basically, all they did to both those bars is like clean it up, and it's so jarring to both of you. You're like, at like the hot spot, all they did is like put like a fresh coat of paint on there, and they maybe like cleaned up the urinal, and like you guys
swept a few dead bodies into the street.
Kevin's like, this place has lost its edge.
It's true. That was my initial reaction. You're
like, what's next? They're going to start taking out the trash?
I don't smell anyone deceased.
Their famous special is any shot you want, any domestic beer you want, and a scratcher for $5.
Right.
They called it the recession special. Right. Now they call it the surplus special. Or the stimulus special for the stimulus package.
Jesus, like how far behind are they?
And it's $6 now, and I was livid.
They bumped over to $6, and he's just like, "This is bullshit."
Like crumpling up a dollar bill. Here's your extra $1, you bloodsuckers.
He's like, "There you go, you fucking. Thanks a lot, Obama."
So. Anyways, if as a Barcast fan I had to say anything, that would be the one place I'd like to see a re-review for.
Right.
Yeah, I would go back there. Of course.
I think it merits a re-review, especially because it was your favorite bar. I feel like
what was my favorite bar from last year? I can't remember. Like, I know I had like the Lexington Club up really high. It made such a fucking impression on me that I can't remember what it was.
I know, yeah. Like must have really it's really rocked your world.
So that's our 2014 special. This is SFBarkast, and we're at the Blind Cat.